Section 1 of Chapter 18 of A History of England. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Richard Carpenter. History of England by Thomas Babington Macaulay. Chapter 18, Section 1. On the 19th of October, 1691, William arrived at Kensington from the Netherlands. 3 days later he opened the Parliament. The aspect of affairs was, on the whole, cheering. By land there had been gains and losses, but the balance was in favour of England. Against the fall of Mons might well be offset the taking of Athlone, the victory of Aughrim, the surrender of Limerick, and the pacification of Ireland. At sea there had been no great victory, but there had been a great display of power and of activity, and though many were dissatisfied because more had not been done, none could deny that there had been a change for the better. The ruin caused by the foibles and vices of Torrington had been repaired. The fleet had been well equipped. The rations had been abundant and wholesome, and the health of the crews had consequently been, for that age, wonderfully good. Russell, who commanded the naval forces of the Allies, had in vain offered battle to the French. The white flag which, in the preceding year, had ranged the Channel unresisted from Land's End to the Straits of Dover, now, as soon as our topmasts were descried 20 leagues off, abandoned the open seas and retired into the depths of the harbour of Brest. The appearance of an English squadron in the estuary of the Shannon had decided the fate of the last fortress which had held out for King James, and a fleet of merchantmen from the Levant, valued at 4 millions sterling, had, through dangers which had caused many sleepless nights to the underwriters of Lombard Street, been convoyed safe into the Thames. The Lords and Commons listened with signs of satisfaction to a speech in which the King congratulated them on the event of the war in Ireland, and expressed his confidence that they would continue to support him in the war with France. He told them that a great naval armament would be necessary, and that, in his opinion, the conflict by land could not be effectually maintained with less than 65,000 men. He was thanked in affectionate terms. The force which he asked was voted, and large supplies were granted with little difficulty. But when the ways and means were taken into consideration, symptoms of discontent began to appear. 18 months before, when the Commons had been employed in settling the civil list, many members had shown a very natural disposition to complain of the amount of salaries and fees received by official men. Keen speeches had been made, and what was much less usual had been printed. There had been much excitement out of doors, but nothing had been done. The subject was now revived. A report made by the commissioners who had been appointed in the preceding year to examine the public's accounts disclosed some facts which excited indignation and others which raised grave suspicion. The House seemed fully determined to make an extensive reform, and, in truth, nothing could have averted such a reform except the folly and the violence of the reformers. That they should have been angry is indeed not strange. The enormous gains, direct and indirect, of the servants of the public went on increasing, while the gains of everybody else were diminishing. Rents were falling, trade was languishing. Every man who lived either on what his ancestors had left him or on the fruits of his own industry was forced to retrench. The placeman alone throve amidst the general distress. "Look," cried the incensed squires, "at the comptroller of the customs. 10 years ago he walked and we rode. Our incomes have been curtailed. His salary has been doubled. We have sold our horses, and he has bought them. And now we go on foot, and are splashed by his coach and six." Lothair vainly endeavoured to stand up against the storm. He was heard with little favour by the country gentlemen, who had not long before looked upon him as one of their leaders. He had left them. He had become a courtier. He had 2 good places, one in the treasury and the other in the household. He had recently received from the king's own hand a gratuity of 2,000 guineas. It seemed perfectly natural that he should defend abuses by which he profited. The taunts and reproaches with which he was assailed were insupportable to his sensitive nature. He lost his head, almost fainted away on the floor of the house, and talked about righting himself in another place. Unfortunately, no member rose at this conjuncture to propose that
Sample complete. Ready to continue?